I'm back at the Elgin Cathedral. This is kind of near where we run a lot of our errands, so just stopping by here is pretty convenient, and I really want to draw. So Wolfie's actually running some errands in town. He dropped me off so I could do this, and I have it all to myself. In a recent newsletter, I shared some favorite drawing supplies. I think I also did a blog post about this. But I've still been experimenting and trying to find a good combo for quick sketches when I'm out and about. And I recently got this little folio case, which fits all of my favorite drawing supplies. And one of the combos I've really been enjoying is a water-soluble graphite pencil and a brush pen. So I can get some diluted values and then I can do the really dark darks with the brush pen. I find that the more supplies I try, the more interesting combinations I use, I feel like I learn how to convey my subject in ways that I enjoy better. Which is, okay, that's a roundabout way of saying that sometimes the supplies dictate the final look and the final style. So I'm trying to learn how to choose the materials to get the look that I want. And I really like this combo. It's nice and graphic. So I think I'm going to play with that a bit more this month. Because we've had such gorgeous weather this month, and yes, I realize how spoiled I am because of that. I have had the chance to meet up with my plein group twice already, and we might even get another meetup in this month. So recently we met at Port Soy, which is one of our favorite spots. There's just a ton of variety here in subject matter. Now, many of you who have been watching my videos for a while, a few summers at least, have probably seen Phil in a few of them because he comes to pretty much every meetup. And I have to give him so many props because he actually does live charcoal portraits and, in this case, live watercolor portraits, which kind of blows my mind. But on this day, I had my eyes set on the waves because when we walked to this viewpoint, we looked down and saw the most gorgeous turquoise waters I've ever seen. And because it was high tide, everything was swirling and crashing. And I mean, we sat there for ages just staring at it, mesmerized. And originally, I was going to do some rocks and cliffs in the distance again because I wanted to repaint a scene I had done previously. Because you learn so much when you paint something again. But I couldn't look away from the waves. They just completely captivated me. So I decided to do a few different studies in my sketchbook, keeping it very loose and just trying to capture a bit of that feeling of movement in the water, which is extremely difficult because it changes constantly. So you kind of have to stare at one spot, wait a few seconds, maybe 30 seconds for the same moment to kind of repeat, like the same swirl to come back, and then try to paint it. But in a way, that was very therapeutic. So I had the most amazing day painting the waves. are 10 days in, and I have cleaned my palette probably 3 times because it gets so messy that the colors, like I can barely recognize the colors. And I just cleaned it, so it looks very fresh. But some of the colors are already about half empty, and I got to thinking, the pans are creating more mess than I think necessary. And by that, I mean I can clean the surface of them, but water and paint gets behind and below the pans and it kind of seeps out sometimes. And it's just, I know that by the end of the month, it's going to be so nasty in there. So I think what I'm going to do is scrape out whatever paint is left in each pan, put it into the portable painter without the half pans inserted. I mean, you'll see what I mean. I'll just insert clips of me doing it. And that way I can just continually refill the colors. And the only reason I'm doing this is because I know I love this color combination. I love every color in this palette. I'm using them all, and I don't have any desire to change them anytime soon. So it's not really necessary to keep filling half pans and then have all that extra mess. This is what I mean. Look at all that water and paint that seeped below the half pans. So, yeah. If you haven't seen my videos about setting up and using a dried gouache palette, I will link to those below. But I only recommend doing this if you are very, very sure of your colors and don't plan on changing them anytime soon, because you can't really clean out one or two very easily. You kind of have to do the whole thing. But yeah, I'm very happy with my combination, so I was more than willing to do this. But since it takes at least 24 hours for the paint to kind of get hard enough or set up enough so it doesn't just spill out while I'm moving, I decided the next day I would go out with my watercolor palette, which worked out pretty well because I was super busy running errands in town and I just stopped for a quick coffee and sketch break. And I was laughing to myself because I had the most unpleasant experience painting in the town square. It was just so noisy. There were car alarms, people screaming. It was dirty. There was litter everywhere. It was just the absolute opposite of the day before, which was incredibly gorgeous and peaceful and wonderful on the coast. But yeah, I got my sketch in and had a little laugh over these seagulls fighting over the chips. I'm a little nervous that the paint is almost too fresh, so that when I'm done painting and I pack up, it's gonna be like spilling all over the place. But we'll just go with it. Especially the cobalt turquoise light, that always takes much longer to dry. So we'll see. One of the difficult parts of using such fresh gouache is that the colors are incredibly saturated, so you have to really be careful. You can only touch just the tip of the brush into each color, and even then it's almost too intense, so you have to really be careful with color mixing. Something I'm practicing this month is trying to capture realistic lighting, but with somewhat fantastical colors, which means I have to focus on the values quite a bit, which is a good practice. Values are really important. You can pretty much use any colors if you get the values right. I'm having fun just drawing more than like I'm drawing with the paint more than I'm painting with it. Does that make sense? Drawing with paint, it's a thing. And I love doing that in my sketchbooks. Because when I do a more finished piece on like a big, nice piece of watercolor paper, I don't do this as often. I don't know why. It's just like a sketchbook mindset thing for me. The other thing is it's really fun to have pages in your sketchbook with very loose, almost unfinished pieces, so you can see the steps you want to take or you could take to get to a finished piece. So purposefully leave them unfinished, and then maybe the next page do it more finished, or multiple pieces on one page. Because when I look back on those pages, I remember my thought process much better. All right, now I'm gonna play with some dry brush. I got my big fat brush out because I want to do some big bold marks on the water. You can have fun with kind of the drippy aspect of gouache and reactivating what's below, especially for a slightly more abstract feel. This paper is great for like reactivating what's below because the paint doesn't quite sink in that far into the fibers of the paper. So I can really play with so many interesting effects I can't do on my other paper. It's been interesting having 2 videos a week because I have to be very strict with my time in terms of doing the things and fitting in the editing. But I've been just using my iPhone to film and keeping everything pretty short day to day, so that by the time I sit down to compile everything, it's not completely overwhelming. So I hope the videos have been good. I know they're not as varied, I guess. They're varied because I'm going to different places, but I don't have like lots of B-roll. So yeah, I hope they're good, or at least sharing the experience. I noticed lately on Instagram, maybe because we're like 12 days in, that other artists who are doing the Plein April challenge, quite a few of them have been posting really beautiful paintings, but the descriptions that they share, the writing that they share, are talking about being kind of overwhelmed. And then also some of them, you know, people will share something and they'll be like, oh, this was the worst painting. This sucked. I didn't even want to share this, but I am sharing it because it's part of the process. And I do that too. Sometimes I like share something that I'm not proud of or think that's good at all. A huge part of that is because I want to share the authentic experience. Like today, I know that painting wasn't great, but I still learned so much, and that's the whole point. I already gave myself a pass not to worry about making a masterpiece at all, and just using each day as like a little fact-finding mission to grow in one way. But usually I grow in multiple ways. So I hope if anyone else out there is struggling with that kind of thing, just know that it's completely okay to share the not so perfect results or even the terrible results, because we're all in this journey together and we're all learning as we go. I didn't start off being able to draw or paint. It just took a lot of practice, a lot of repetition, a lot of self-critiquing, and it's a long journey. So don't expect it to be overnight. I think that's one of the dangers of social media, is that so often we see stuff that's finished and polished and wonderful, and we think, oh, how did they do that? Or I'll never be able to do that, because they don't obviously show the process, how many years it took them to get to that point. Okay, I'm just rambling now. Anyway, that's today. I am gonna head off now, ride my bike home. As a reminder, I am sharing videos every Tuesday and Saturday, so I will see you all on Tuesday. Thank you for hanging out with me.